All right, here we are on another Franchise Connect Live, in which we're connecting, in this case, the franchisor Joseph and John Lucas from Farmer Boys with their very successful multi-unit franchisee, Omar, who has, I understand he has 9 units now and is getting to 12 units. Ned, would you start us off then, just on a general discussion because of your a background in collaboration between large multi-units and the franchisor. I wonder if you could start the conversation between Joseph and Omar and just lead us through a bit some of the highs and lows and accomplishments of Farmer Boys in this regard.
Great. Well, I think our engagement with Farmer Boys so far, what I've learned is that Farmer Boys is a very franchise friendly, franchise focused business. And one of the key pillars that they operate under is, making sure the franchisees are profitable. And so I think that's a great, I guess, cultural foundation to, uh, build off of. And so, maybe Joseph could start there and, elaborate on that a bit, and then then we could engage Omar and get his thoughts on that as well.
Sure. Thank you, Ned. And good morning to Mike, Joe, Ned, Omar, and John. Um, at Farmer Boys, we really do focus and put a lot of effort around making sure that our franchisees and our system is profitable. Because we still operate the majority of restaurants on the corporate side, so we operate 31 of the 102 restaurants. We still have a lot of skin in the game and making sure that our restaurants are profitable, but also understanding that the long term health of the brand is really going to be impacted by our franchisees' ability to be profitable. So when we're looking at new ideas, new initiatives, new products, new processes, how to tackle problems like minimum wage increases or commodity inflation, we're always thinking about the percentages, the dollars, and the pennies, right? Right now, out there on the market, everyone's focused on value, 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 value. And we've really figured out how to do value at Farmer Boys, how to do value, which is a good product at a fair price. And we think that we've done pretty well on it. But it is something that's always for us front of mind in wanting to make sure that we don't do a bunch of things that might make noise but don't make sense. We always want to make sense. We're always focused on making sure every penny counts and we can take as many of them as we can to the bank.
Great. And Omar, how long have you been involved? Why don't you give us a little bit of insight on yourself, your businesses in general, and then your relationship with Farmer Boys and how that came about, and your perspective on their commitment to franchisees.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I've been with the Farmer Boys. I opened my first franchisee back in '07. And, with the collaboration that we've had with Farmer Boys, I was able to grow my unit counts as well as people count and all the good relationship that we've had with them over the years. I was able to build it up to 9 units, and we have a few more coming up. The relationship that we have with Farmer Boys has always been more of a partnership. That's how I feel. More of a partnership than it is a franchisor versus franchisee relationship. I feel like they really do care, kind of like what Joseph said. They care about the health of the franchisee. They always come up with ideas and products that, at the end of the day, it has a value to the customer, but as well as it makes us profitable at the end of the day because if we don't make that profit, it's not going to take us anywhere. It's not going to allow us to grow. So I feel like their focus has always been value to the customers, but also to the franchisees as well.
How do you compare and contrast Farmer Boys with other franchise brands that you're associated with?
Um, I feel like Farmer Boys, they really worry about the health of the franchisee. So that's number one issue or goal for them, as well as they always try their best to, um, treat us as if we're their guests. So every time you go to the corporate office, as an example, I feel like you really get treated as this is your first time you come into the franchise to the franchisor office. I don't feel like it's a very smooth relationship. They welcome us as if they're as if we are their guests. So.
How does Farmer Boys, or how did the both of you kind of collaborate and ideate around what franchisees need and what the business needs, and how does that engagement happen? Organically, just in general, or even formally. So.
Uh, Organically, I feel like they always try. I never felt like they're here to kind of like make us feel I'm here to enforce my policy. I'm here. They always made us feel like I'm here to support you. Whatever you need from us as a franchisor, we're here to support you to get to the point that we need to deliver to the customer. The relationship has always been, for me personally, and all of my units have always been a very smooth relationship, and it's not a relationship that you feel like somebody's trying to enforce something on you. More, it's like, okay, we're here to support you, we're here to help you. What is it that we could do as a partner of yours to get to the level that we need to take the brand to?
From my experience, a franchisor needs to, really lead from the front, needs to prove things out, and provide leadership in that respect, but also be open to input and ideas, and whether it's innovations or good ideas from the franchise community, and often some of the better franchise ideas come from the franchise community. In fact, so do you feel like you've got that platform to be able to make recommendations and for those to be heard and listened to? And Joseph, how do you guys manage that?
I personally feel like I do have. I mean, a lot of times I come up to Farmer Boys with ideas, and they're always open to any ideas that you come up with. They study it, they analyze it, make sure that it makes sense to the brand, and they always come back with a decision, either yay or nay. But I feel very comfortable coming up to them and asking them questions, or coming up with ideas or suggestions that we might have, and most of the time the ideas doesn't just get pushed aside or shoved aside. It's always analyzed, studied, and made sense out of.
Joseph, did you want to follow up
And
on that?
yeah, and I think the way that we accomplish that is we do it formally through our different meetings and interactions with our franchisees, but we also do it very informally through more standard just building your relationships. Right? We have a franchise conference. We have a franchise advisory group that we have. We have regular meetings with both. We have you know. Quarterly updates with our franchisees as a system. We have quarterly business updates with our franchisees as individual groups. And then we have the more non-formal communications, right? We'll organize events where we'll go visit restaurants together. We'll tour markets. We'll have social events. We'll have dinners where we just meet and catch up. I think that we have a pretty good culture around the informal things and the informal communications, such that when we're in the formal settings, the communication's natural. It's not unnatural. It's not staged. It's not a process. We do have the more formal, process and review sessions and discussions and agendas, but those, I believe, will only get you so far if the real sort of culture behind it and culture of having good communications is absent. If you don't have good communication that's natural and it is organic, it's going to be tough. And for us, right, as a management team, as the sort of corporate group, it's imperative for us to keep that. But our founders also play that role as well. They're still engaged in the organization in different capacities and at different levels, and always having that open communication that if Omar or somebody else has a question or has a challenge or wants to voice something that maybe isn't going to be the most popular in the room, there's many ways to do so, right? And there's many ways that are more formal, less formal avenues to communicate, and that ability to have our franchisees know that we are there to listen, right? We are in this together, and our ability to hear what they're telling us, to absorb it, to think about it, and to understand how it fits and could potentially impact the system. Some of our best ideas come from our franchisees. And I, for one, am a believer that it doesn't matter whose idea it is. It always matters that the best idea is the one that we find, and that's the one that wins, and trying to make that happen. And I think with our communication with our franchisees and our ability to leverage their knowledge of our system, right, and their experience, because they're in their restaurants every day, they have teams that are doing this stuff every day, really makes us stronger as a brand. And it really helps us evolve and keep the brand moving in the right direction.
Yeah, that sounds like a great platform. I really love the kind of the organic, just relationship building aspects that you have within your system, and your openness to feedback and engagement, and then the formality that you have around it too. Can you guys talk a little bit about the advisory council and how that's a good platform, for both the franchisor and franchisee, and your perspectives of how you get things done and collaborate through that mechanism?
So why don't I first kind of set what the council is, and then Omar, as you've been on the council, right, you can give us your perspective on how it's been on your end. But for us, the advisory council is a group of about 6 of our franchisees, all relatively tenured, different backgrounds, different sizes. And what we utilize the advisory council for is giving us controlled feedback in an environment where we can present them, different promotional ideas, different things that we're testing, different challenges that we're beginning to see in the brand, and to get their perspective as a group, what they think about whatever it is, right? So give us feedback, give us ideas, let us know, hey, this feels right, or if there's concerns with something that we're presenting, to be able to discuss those. It's a good touch point because it gives us a consistent ability to get a group of franchisees together that we believe are heavily invested in the brand and growth, and be able to take their input into what we're thinking, to always pressure test what we're doing, but also to give them that ability to meet with us and with each other in a setting that lets us air out issues, right? If there's things that need to be challenged, need to be discussed, I'm, almost always there at these meetings, and I don't usually run the meetings, but if there's issues, I'm there to hear them. And if we have to, come to the table and hear news of different things, I'm going to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. I thank you, Joseph. I truly believe the franchise meeting, advisory meeting that we have brings a lot of stuff to the table. There is one thing the corporate is trying to do, but also when you go to the field, franchisees are the one that they're having to deal with it, and we're the one that here to the other franchisees, not only just to my group, but I reach out to other franchisees and try to understand how this program is working for us on the field. It's one thing trying to engineer something, but it's another thing trying to implement it and go live with it. So what is it that us as franchisees, not only again my group, but as a group, as several franchisees, how is that program working for us? What can we do to improve it? What can we do to minimize cost over here? What can we do to make it a little bit easier for the team to execute on the field? And we take all these ideas and we go back to the franchisor, and we meet once a quarter, as Joseph mentioned, and we sit together and we air out the ideas or the suggestions that we might have from the field. And credit to Farmer Boys, they always take these ideas and take it and run with it and try to either, does this make sense? Does it make financial sense? Does it make service sense? They look at it from every angle, and then we come back with a decision. Price point. A lot of times we discuss in a group. Does this make sense? Is this does it need to be lower? Does this size need to be a little bit bigger? And the beauty about it is that we discuss it, and the decision is made collectively, not just one person making that decision. So I feel like you're part of the team.
Well, the last time we had talked about this, Omar, you had mentioned an issue about food costs that you had changed the Joseph and the Farmer Boy franchisor's mind on, without getting into details on it, or some other example in which the franchise advisory board actually changed the direction of the franchisor. I wonder if you could speak to something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like Farmer Boys as an example. We did not serve breakfast all day. It was we always stopped at 11 o'clock in the morning, and or 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was one of the things that as a franchise advisory we came up with, and we felt like there is still demand for breakfast all day long. So we discussed it as a group, and that was one of the things that we, as advisory, we were able to change. As far as food cost, it's a challenge trying to manage your food cost. It's a challenge to it is labor and food costs are the biggest two expenses. So we went back to the franchisor and to Farmer Boys, and we kept asking, we need to come up with a program where we're able to manage the food cost not only as a percentage, but a lot more detail. Let's dive into the details and find exactly where the food costs. And we were able to partner with a couple of vendors, and we were able to Farmer Boys came up with a tool to help us all out to be able to look at the items that we're where do we waste the most? Is it meat? Is it cheese? Is it eggs? And the tool that we have, I feel like it helped us out tremendously.
If I'm a single unit new franchisee coming into the Farmer Voice system, or somehow make my way into the Farmer Voice system, there's obviously the engagement that I have with Joseph and his team and the support I get from there. But how do you guys, as a franchise collective or advisory board, create an environment or platform for relationship with other franchisees within the system? That's you, Omar.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought the question was directed to Joseph. Yeah, I mean, I started myself as a single unit operator. I built, built up. I feel like the support that I had from a single unit, it was tremendous. They were there every step of the way. They helped out. To run, ideas and suggestions to run the stores, and to what can we do to improve the service and stuff like that. And also, without getting into a lot of the details, but they were able to guide to how to take it to the next level. What can you do to get to the next level? What can you do to let's take it to more than one unit. So I feel like they care at all levels, not only the multi-unit. They care about small single operator. They care about a couple of units, 3 units, multi-unit. They have different levels of support, not only geared towards one category or geared towards one segment of the franchisee. And I feel like the support that they have is tackled from several angles as well.
Yeah, if I could add, I think one of the critical pieces that the franchisees like Omar, particularly the franchise on the advisory board, serve is that they're ambassadors for the brand, and so they're a bit of like the welcoming committee, and I think that they're always there to answer any questions, help them work through any problems. But we find frequently that the new franchisees will reach out to them as well, in addition to our support team, just because they walk the talk and they're out there in the field every day and they're experiencing some of the same pain points that they are, and it's probably a problem that they've already solved. And I give Omar in the franchisee group a lot of credit, because it is its warm, welcoming environment. They're excited to have new people as part of the franchisee group, in that they reach out, they make them feel engaged and welcome, and I think that's part of the uniqueness of Farmer Boys.
I think this is an amazing culture and platform for collaboration and just the relationships, right? The franchisor understanding the importance of the franchisee's health and wellness, and focused on their profitability. And so I think that's a great cultural foundation for the business. Omar, when you think about like other aspects of the franchise value proposition from Farmer Boys, what are the other things that keep you in the system, keep you growing in the system, and are the things like their approach to real estate strategy and support, or other systems and things that they're offering that allow you to grow and flourish within the franchise?
One of the things that I personally like is that when it comes to real estate and selecting real estate, I feel like they're very careful selecting the real estate, making sure that this site is going to succeed regardless who operates that site, and they take their time. I mean, it's very difficult to find a site nowadays, real estate wise, but they take their time making sure selecting the right site, the right entrance, the right visibility, the right demographics. So they have a very intensive program that before they select a site, they do that. So it makes it more comforting for me that I know they took their time to analyze the sites and make sure that it's going to succeed. And that's something for me personally. I feel like it gives me comfort that there is a group of people behind me, and not just one person that making that decision or making that recommendation. At the end of the day, they turn the table over to me and they tell me, here's the site, go and take a look at it and see if it's something that you're interested in developing. And the support is there from A to Z. So it's something that makes me engage, makes me want to do more.
Would you be able to grow at the pace that you've grown or that you're planning to grow without that?
I feel like the support that they give, it gives me a lot more confidence. It gives me a lot more ability to go and feel like, okay, there is a system behind me. It's not just my decision. It's not my feeling. It's not my analysis. It's a group of people that they've been doing this for a long time. So it gives me a lot more confidence. I mean, maybe I would have been able to grow faster, but maybe I wouldn't have been as successful keeping all the units that I have, because I mean, for me, it's more of finding the right site and keep growing healthy than just opening sites and not being able to maintain it or not being able to keep it because it's not the right site to begin with.
Yeah, that makes sense. Joseph, what's your guys' philosophy on real estate? I mean, it seems that this is a great platform for people, support platform for franchisees. How do you guys think about, finding real estate and supporting growth?
I think historically we've focused on finding sites that are strong in real estate and then franchisees for those sites. As we look to scale now, we're trying to find more of a balance of finding strong franchisees and then going after those good sites. So, working really hard. Our founders have always had this belief that closing restaurants, if we think a restaurant site that we're going to open has the potential to close or that we're not sure about it, we typically don't want to take that risk, right? They've always been very conservative, and in doing so, we just haven't closed many sites throughout the years, and the sites that we have closed have been more non-traditional for us. I think the couple were in malls actually, and we've always just had this great success with keeping sites open and then being profitable and healthy. And I believe that's because we've tried to show a lot of discipline when we look at sites, and when we, you know, really try to find those sites that we think are going to be consistent throughout the week, right? We aren't a brand that focuses just on lunch or just on dinner or just on, you know, breakfast. We're trying to see, can we find a site that has, you know, lunch traffic, nighttime week traffic, weekend breakfast traffic, and if we can find those sites, we're typically golden, right? And our restaurants will be healthy and profitable for a long time. Now that said, that's what everyone's trying to, you know, also go after. So we have to be patient in what we look for, and we also have to be op- opportunistic at times in making and in looking at sites that maybe other people might not see as the right fit for their brand, but that could potentially be a strong fit for us. You know, sites that bump up against more like industrial areas a lot of times work for us, right? Where they just don't for other brands. So our ability to kind of know where we do well and where we don't, and what's easy to find and what might be a little bit harder to find, and keeping that discipline and having that healthy debate internally around a site and whether or not we think it's going to be a good site, a strong site, or, you know, just maybe average. I think that discipline and having a good process is what's helped us be successful in choosing the sites that we've opened thus far.
And so you have a real estate, like you're a real estate capability, real estate acquisition capability, negotiating capability, you know, support everything for franchisees if they need it then, right?
Yes, we do.
That's great. You know, I think that's critical. Obviously, the right site selection, picking the best real estate, you know, is one of the biggest factors, right, in the success, or at least the foundational success of a new restaurant. So Omar, you have 9 now, and you have 3 more in development. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And are the 3 that are in development, are they sites that Farmer Boys has selected, and then you've looked at them and accepted the sites and they're wanting to develop them, or some of the sites you've sourced yourself?
No, it's the sites that Farmer Boys were able to select and were able to find, and you know, they turned it over to me and take a look. And it made a lot of sense financially and as well as demographically. I feel like the you know, we're looking where we're targeting. Um, it's those 3 sites fit very well.
What are the when you think about the culture that we talked about, the real estate support, other aspects of Farmer Boys value proposition? What else attracts you, you know, to the brand or contributes to your success in the brand?
Um, yeah, I personally, you know, before I came to Farmer Boys, you know, I was a regional director of operations for a different brand, and I oversaw, you know, closer to 86 restaurants. So I wanted to, you know, to make my dream come true by developing several units for myself. And I felt like Farmer Boys, first of all, the product is something that you could stand behind, the product that you sell, something that you really could eat and taste yourself, and also the fact that the brand, although it's been around for a long time, but there is a lot of growth potential. I feel like there is a lot of areas that's still green, that still we could go and tackle a lot of areas. So I felt like the growth could be there, and that for me that was, you know, the major couple of things that I felt like attracted me to the brand.
That's great. When you think about the Farmer Boys culture, I think Farmer Boys seems to have a franchise friendly culture, and then I think it's also an employee centric culture. So, I think it'd be great for you to talk about that, from a franchisee's perspective, and then Joseph talk about it as well, particularly, as it's positively impacts turnover and other things within your business.
Yeah, food business historically has a lot of high turnover, especially at the time that went through the pandemic and COVID. I feel like a lot of people turn careers or change careers. But in order for you to understand the food business, you really need to understand the basics, which is at the end of the day, you're dealing with humans, you're dealing with customers and employees, and in order for you to grow and you keep developing, you need to have a team around you. You can't just do everything yourself. So as a GM, I've always learned to utilize everybody around me and make sure that I develop the people to the next level. So and I kept the same idea. I adapted the same idea when I start growing. I didn't want to do everything myself. I didn't want to be a one-man show. I wanted to be everybody around me. So I started believing in developing the people around me, and that's for me. I feel like it gave me a lot of success because I'm a big believer in growing the people that I have already. People that they showed me loyalty, the people that they showed me that they like the brand, or they like Omar, or they like the industry. So in order for me to keep growing, I have to keep developing people. So before I go and find a site, or I say I'm ready to take another site, I want to make sure I have a good team around me. I want to make sure that I have the right people that have been developed and they're ready to go. So have they taught the next person? Has a cashier been developed to a shift leader? Has a shift leader been developed to an an assistant manager to a GM? So all of my people that I have, they're all people that I grew from within. I have people been with me for since I opened my first store. Multi store managers that they started with me as a shift leader, and I was able to grow them into an area manager position. So, I take pride of my people, and I feel like as a franchisor too, I feel like it's the same thing, that they take pride of their franchisees as well.
Joseph, can you talk a bit about the employee focus, the cultural focus within Farmer Boys?
So first of all, I want to say what Omar just talked about is not easy. And what he does, Omar has the most amazing people in our organization, and his ability to develop great leaders at every level of his organization is second to none. His team of above restaurant leaders are invested, they're capable, they're engaged. His people in the restaurants, from his GMs down to his cashiers, all have the right energy, the right attitude, and they all give the right effort, and they really do take ownership of the brand. So, Omar is one person in our system that we look to say, how do we look at what he's doing and learn from it, right? And because he's been so successful in just developing great people, and it's not easy. Our brand, like our kitchen, it's a real kitchen. It's not, bag food that you just warm up, and things that are pre-cut, pre-measured. Everything comes in pre-done. It's a real kitchen where we have to prep, and our cooks have to know what they're doing. And our ability to do things wrong is somewhat more than other brands. So having people that are engaged in doing things correctly, and who want to win and want to do great things is what we look for. And building a culture where our team is a team. They work with each other. They all understand their roles. They work together. They can work side by side. Our kitchens are busy. Our restaurants are busy. People at times are going to bump into the person next to them, right? Our ability to work through the bumps and to work through different dynamics really goes back to our culture as a team, and how we recognize our folks, how we bring them together, how we train them, how we coach them when things don't go well, how we take their feedback, how we listen to them. It's something for us that's of the utmost importance, and something that we always try to reinforce and find new ways to make it stronger, right? Omar mentioned, COVID times when turnover was much higher. For us, it was something, our turnover has always been lower than our industry. And during COVID, though, it was different. We lost a lot of folks. People were just scared, and losing the history that we had in that tenure and those teams and folks who left the industry and didn't come back. It hurt for a while. But our ability to move away from that and to coach our teams now and keep people more tenured and giving them more experience with us, and really continuing to focus around communication between our team members and from them and to the office and to our franchisees. And when there's new promotions, when there's new trainings, when there's updates to the system, when there's things that aren't working, them being able to tell us, having that communication where everybody feels that they're able to speak up and could be heard by myself or by Omar or by John or different folks in the organization, really goes a long way to demonstrating that we do care about people, and we do care about what they think and what's going on. We don't always do what everybody wants us to do, but we always listen and we always try to take what they're saying and pick out from it what are the important nuggets that we can take from that conversation and do something with them.
Great. I want to get back to employee engagement and communication in a second, but I also want to have a question that was posed a few minutes back on where are you oriented toward international franchising, and is Farmer Boys interested in international franchising? How are you guys thinking about that at this point?
So my political answer would be that we're not, that we're focused domestically and having a very clear plan of what we would want to do. But if our founders were on the call, they would say where and how do we make it work, right? So I would say we're at a stage where I think we're learning how to be a better system for growth. And to us, it makes more logical sense to grow domestically first. But if there's a strategic alignment and partner internationally that could help us figure out what the concept would look like and what it would take to do so, such that we felt confident that the brand would be represented and controlled correctly outside of the U.S., we would be open to exploring that because we have explored it previously.
I think that's a logical approach. I mean, open to international franchising when the timing's right and the plan's right, while focusing on your, key core markets of growth domestically makes a ton of sense. So there could be some follow-up conversation on that as we go forward. But back to engagement, you guys, I think, have some regular communication tools, regular meetings, and that sort of thing. Can you talk about how you keep your employees engaged, Omar, and the same Joseph, on a systematic basis? So start with Omar.
Yeah. First of all, I mean, for me, every time I go to a store, I visit a store, and I, try to instill that in my above store leaders. It's always. I want it to be an experience where, like, I'm here for you. What is it that we need to do? I don't just come in to point out things that they're not going right, or what can we do to help each other out. I have my weekly calls with my team. We have a scheduled, once a week, where 1 week we talk about financials. Where are we going with this? Where's sales? Where's food costs? Where's labor? Where's all this, essential to the business? Then the following week we talk about the key indicators areas, like the speed of service. We talk about the title report. We talk about what's our Google reviews and all this stuff. The following week we make it just open topic. Whatever anybody wants to talk about. Every GM is talking about want to talk about this topic as an example because he or she is having an issue. So we want to talk about that topic. So for me, when you have a system and you stick with the system, it gives people more confidence of the system, and it makes them really start getting engaged. And when your team is engaged at different levels, they really start, the power starts getting stronger. So when a GM believes in your system, they start making their shift leader, their assistant manager, believe in the system as well. Then when the shift leader believe, the cashiers start believing. So I feel like, when you have the communication, have everybody engaged, everybody knows where they're going, everybody understands the direction the group is going, or the company is going. It makes it a little bit easier to be on the same path, versus nobody knows what's going on. It becomes very confusing. So I feel like those weekly calls that we have, the visits that the corporate gives, the visits that I go to the store, or my above store leader go to the store, I feel like it helps out a lot to keep the team engaged and keep developing people.
Joseph, what systems or tools do you guys use, for employee engagement, or just what process do you use?
So we do all of the somewhat traditional things, right? We do communications to the organization. We have our conference where we do recognition and we share information. We have quarterly updates. We have meetings with our different area managers or different franchisee groups in different markets, things of that nature. We also do this thing that to me is a little bit unique. We have this weekly sort of podcast, but it's more of like a Zoom because it's a live video feed called K Farm. And what K Farm is, it's like a weekly roundup and kind of huddle of our whole system. So franchisees, area managers, corporate staff, GMs in the restaurants, we have probably 80 to 90 people that call into this, or that tune into this broadcast once a week on Thursdays. And it's probably a 45-minute production where we do a lot of updates on people's anniversaries, people's birthdays, new procedures that are going on, new promotions, people who've had promotions within the organization. We talk about recognition of great things that have gone on. If there's issues with the system, or something new going on, it's interactive, so we can talk about things there. But it's a very open and free flowing media with some agenda and structure. But the whole idea is that we can sort of get everybody in a room virtually, excuse me, and talk about what's happening in the business, right? And get together and reconnect. And people can message throughout the meeting, and they tell each other, happy birthday, good job on your promotion, things of that nature. What's really cool about it is it's not required and it's not mandatory. So our team here puts this together. And John, if I'm wrong, correct me, but it's been going on for about 6 years. And we have probably a pretty consistent audience. I think during COVID, it was probably more people on it more consistently than it is now, but it just has this life that's gone on. And it really serves as a chance for all of us to touch each other and connect, right? And it's a once a week thing. It's early morning on Thursday, so it doesn't, really impact people's schedules too much. But it's something that we've always kind of questioned, like, what does it do for the organization, and how does it help us? And people just keep calling in and wanting to change it and add more topics and do different things and make it longer, make it shorter. But it's a really cool example of something that we we're not a massive company. We're also not small. So we have some of the great things that a big company would have, but we also have some of the things that a smaller company could still do. And K Farm is one of those things that's very organic, and it's very Farmer Boys. It's very us, right? In that it's almost like a mom and pop type feel, where there's a lot of people talking who you wouldn't think would feel confident to be on a call with the president or the founders or their boss, and they're speaking up, and they have that opportunity to engage and be heard. And I think that's a great example of what we do with communication and trying to utilize communication to reinforce and build culture, and also sharing of knowledge so that it gets down to everybody.
Wow, that's fantastic. I was aware of that, but never heard it in that sense. So when you think about like there's this great franchising culture. You're focused on the people side culture. When you think about transformative topics such as technology moving its way into the restaurant space and that sort of thing, how are you guys adopting technologies and other resources and making those available to franchisees to help drive their business?
We are catching up rapidly. So I would say before COVID, we weren't a front runner in the technology space. I think that we were more genuinely a late adopter to all things. COVID happened and it sort of, I think, opened the organization's eyes up a bit. And in doing so, we've invested heavily over the past few years to get our online ordering launched, app ordering launched, table side ordering launched. We're looking at kiosks. We're looking at digital menu boards. We're looking at you know drive-through technology, restaurant technology, restaurant equipment. Technology is something that I think we, you know, 5, 6 years ago, culturally as a brand, it just wasn't really embraced as a necessity. I think that's different now, and I think it's something that we're focused really on, getting the brand to a place where our experience for our guest is more cohesive and consistent across the physical, the digital, the experiential, making sure that everything fits together and it's appropriate for our guests' needs and the ways that they want to interact with us, right? I think in the past we viewed technology as somewhat a luxury that not every guest want. I think our perspective now is that these are things that guests want and we should have them. And there's a reason for that. So we've been really the past probably 2 years on a heavy and aggressive path with technology and getting things up to industry standard and going beyond that where possible.
Yeah, and Omar, from your perspective, the investments or the considerations around updating the tech forward aspect of the guest experience, how's that working from your side, and what kind of input do you guys have in it? With your advisory board or just you directly?
Yeah, I like Joseph said. I mean, I feel like we might be a little bit late adapter, but I feel like we're going full speed. I personally feel like the brand, because of the fact that we make everything fresh, everything, so we can take a little bit longer. So I feel like technology will help us save that time if the customer is able to order 5, 7 minutes ahead of time. So by the time they get there, the food is ready, fresh, prepared when the order is placed. I think is giving us a big advantage. But also, technology is helping us out a lot. But the main thing is that we're not losing focus on making sure that at the end of the day, the customer wants to be treated, wants to be welcomed when they walk in, wants to feel that the technology is there, but we're keeping that human aspect of it very, very, very involved, because we don't want just to the customers feel like they're walking in and they're being handed the food out without even somebody saying hello to them or greeting them. So at the end of the day, this is we're in the human business. I feel like it's going to give us a great uh, a great advantage having that technology.
Great. And I think, as you adopt new technologies and, build some complexity into your systems, obviously things like security and, just having the right environment to protect your data, your systems. Joseph, how do you guys make sure that you have the right protections and things in place from a technology perspective, both at corporate and franchise locations. Don't go too deep into that, but just a quick response there.
Sorry, I was on mute. For me, I'm pretty conservative. And as the leader of the organization, I tend to take a more conservative approach than most people would probably prefer, because it makes things take longer. I don't like keeping data that we probably don't need to keep. So if we don't need it, don't keep it. If we keep it under lock and key, and make sure that we're constantly testing and making sure that we don't have any gaps in our systems. So generally speaking, I don't like keeping people's personal information if we don't need to, and whatever it is that we might be keeping, just being super conservative around making sure we have the right checks, and that we're constantly testing our systems to make sure that if there's new ways for people to get into the data, or to get into our systems, that we're constantly evolving so that we can adapt with the people that would want to do those things, because it's constantly changing. There's constantly new ways, and our ability to stay engaged and in front of that, it's a considerable effort, but I think it's one that's well worth it.
Great. Thanks, Joseph. And then I think another topic that was asked a minute or so ago is how does your focus on local sourcing really impact your growth plans? And I know that's a conversation we've had a couple of times, so it'd be good for you to address that.
Right now, we're able to supply our system out of one distribution center. So in our current sort of footprint, it's not really a challenge. As we grow, it is something we're going to have to consider in growing strategically and understanding, what parts of our menu do we have to adapt to as we grow, right? So produce in different places could be different, right? Meat from different production facilities could be different. Right now, largely everything that we get comes from one source, depending on the ingredients. But as we stretch and scale, which is what we hope we do, we're very cognizant that over time is going to evolve, and we're going to have to understand that we're likely not going to get produce from California and ship it to Maryland. Like it doesn't work that way. So we're going to adapt and grow and get better with what we're doing, but we're always going to look to have our ingredients sourced as close to the location that they're being prepared as is possible, but also as is reasonable.
So you'd say that there's a close linkage between your supply chain dynamics and where you're sourcing your products and how you're going to grow. So maybe contiguous growth, contiguous supply chain expansion. Would that be
Yes.
consistent with your thoughts?
Yes, I would say so.
Awesome. Well, I think we've got 7 minutes left, so we're kind of approaching the end of the conversation. I think one really great topic to talk to is just the long-term partnerships and how you foster those with franchisees or with suppliers and with employees. So a lot of that's based on the cultural dynamics of things that we've already talked about. But Amar, you've been in the system a while, and Joseph, you guys have been in business for 40 plus years. So how do you think about just fostering those type of relationships with all the stakeholders in the business?
For me, I think our founders have set a very strong precedent and foundation to how we think about relationships and the value of long-term relationships, right? With vendor partners, they instill in the organization this idea of there's three things we have to get: the right product, the right price, and the right partner. And making sure that we have those three things, and if we have a price that's good for them and good for us, a product that meets our needs, and we have a great partner that shows up when things don't work right, that's a vendor that will partner with us and will make it right. We know things aren't always going to be perfect, and we have to work through those things. but finding a great partner, particularly when we're sourcing product as fresh as possible, it's not the easiest thing in the world. And that's where we really do value long-term relationships with our the vendor partners, and wanting to make sure that we maintain continuity in our system. And if we have partners that show up and give us a fair price and a great product, and when things don't work right, are there and they're present, then that's a good mix that helps us keep those relationships a long time. That goes, then to our franchisees and our staff and our people and our team members. And we always think about it as, how can we be reasonable when conflict happens, right? When things are good, it's not that challenging to win. Things are good, but when things get tough, right? When there's, changes to legislature, or there's a pandemic, or, there's new entrants to the market, or things don't work right. That's when we all have to sort of take a deep breath, step back, and look at what's going on and say, hey, is this a 6-month relationship, or is this a 20-year relationship? For most of our folks, it's a long relationship. So we always want to be reasonable in approaching conflict and things where we don't really have a clear answer, but we need to work together to find something that we're probably not all going to be 100% happy about. None of us might be 100% happy about an outcome, but if it's the most reasonable, logical outcome that we can have to keep moving forward, I think that's where we do a good job of discussing and getting to a place where we can all understand the decision we made and maintain the relationship, because there's always going to be things that happen, and we need to be able to sit down as reasonable business people and talk it through, and make sure that we're listening to each other and trying to find the best possible outcome to whatever the challenge is.
But you still have Farmer Boys as a founder-owned company, right? So it's you still have the stakeholders that founded the business and are running the business and managing the business. So there's certainly probably continuity there, right, in terms of the long-term view on the business and the stakeholder relationships.
Well, there absolutely is. Our the founding family, because there are brothers, they are still the owners of the brand. So, and their perspective is not one of what's our exit strategy as we age out to cash out. Theirs is, how do we maintain this brand with the family in perpetuity? So they're focused right now on their next generation and getting them knowledgeable about the business and prepared to have an opinion and have a voice, and to really help us as a management team, think about the history of the brand and how we got here, and what is the right sort of long-term perspective and outlook of the brand and strategy. I'm here to help them sort of take all these ideas and bring the input of our franchisees, of our corporate staff, of outside folks, and figure out what's the best path for the brand. But it's ultimately their, company and brand. And they also have to understand and be engaged and be involved for us to be the best brand that we possibly could be. And I always tell them and other folks, right, we're trying to evolve to be the best Farmer Boys that we can be. We aren't trying to become somebody else. We aren't trying to really copy anybody else. We think that we're unique enough to stand out, and being able to stand out and have a position that's a little bit different than other people is a great thing to have if we can hold on to it, and we can evolve and make it stronger and make it better. And that's ultimately us trying to be the best version of ourselves that we could be.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fantastic. Omar, any thoughts you have in closing on the partnership and your long-term association with Farmer Boys?
No, I'm just excited to be here after 17 years, and looking forward to more. It's a looking at it as a long-term relationship. It's a forever relationship. So I'm excited to be here and looking forward for more.
Great. Well, I think that's a wrap. Unless anybody else has any other inputs, I think love the conversation. I think Farmer Boys has a platform that really focuses on the key stakeholders in the business, from franchisees to employees to customers, and has it right. So it's great to spend some time with you, Omar, Joseph, John, Mike, and Joe, and we can close there. Mike, you're going to take us away, or is that it?
I think that's a